Okay, thank you. I'm Kossi from Benin. I'm
Microphone is muted. Is it still speaking?
No, I actually muted him so that we can continue the section. So you could.
Okay, so I don't know where Beidi is.
I talk with him now. He's supposed to enter the call.
All right, apologies again. This is one of the downsides to holding virtual meetings, technical issues. We hope the moderator will be joining the call in a minute from now.
Joshua, please, can you share the link to the moderator? Joshua, can you share the right link to the moderator, please?
All right. Seeing as our moderator is having issues, I will introduce the panelists and we will just start. As soon as he joins the link, he will take over from me. So this session is talking about emerging technologies. In the previous section, we had talked about the emerging issues being faced by West Africa. So this session is going to talk about the emerging technologies that we as West Africans need to actually start looking into and developing even further. On the panel today, I've got Dr. Kossi Amessinou. He's the West African Director for the African ICT Foundation. We've got Joshua representing the West African Youth IGF. And we've got Dawit Bekele, the regional vice president from the Africa Internet Society. Unfortunately, Dawit will be joining us a bit later. Dr. Kossi, have you got our presentation?
I will speak. I don't share.
All right, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay. Merci beaucoup. Merci à Folake. Je suis
Very much. Thank you, Folake. I'm very happy to be with you this morning. We're talking about emerging technology. Please, can the speaker speak closer to his microphone?
Désolé, Kossi, you need to move closer to your microphone, please.
Hello? Is it better?
Much better.
Okay, it's much better. Thank you.
Okay.
So I was saying that when we talk about emerging technology, we can talk about several types of technology. There is artificial intelligence, there's big data, other types of emerging technology. I'm just going to focus on artificial intelligence and big data. Today, we realize that we have this technology in everyday life. It is a catalyst to achieving sustainable development in all areas: agriculture, environment, education, and environment. In fact, in poverty reduction programs as well. Unfortunately, some of these technologies can also help to reduce rising inequalities. In West Africa, for instance, there are several languages that we can have in artificial intelligence, French, English, and so on. In trade, it's difficult for us to have trade exchanges if we don't speak the same language. So we have these linguistic barriers. We have voice assistance tools. When we go to banks and microfinance institutions, we have cameras that are collecting data. It's not really for needs of filtering information, but also for security reasons. That helps to secure these institutions, microfinance institutions. This resource is also used to integrate or include people that don't have previous banking history. So it helps to get more people on board banking systems, establish their credibility. So these systems can help to accelerate progress in extractive industries also. The economic environment here is challenged by this terrorism. Artificial intelligence
terroristes qui empêchent la bonne circulation des marchandises et des personnes dans l'espace ouest africain pour fluidifier le mécanisme de commerce que nous avons dans la région. Mais tout cela appelle de notre part un certain nombre de réglementations.
All of this requires regulation. So we need to put in place technologies. Yes, that's true. But the regulatory framework also has to follow. We have to be flexible in the use of artificial intelligence. The speed of our regulations has to follow developments and innovative technologies. They shouldn't be counter to these technologies. because governments have to take different perspectives into account, working with the private sector, so that mechanisms that are being put in place will take into account recommendations from high-level panels. And the three principles should be taken into account. Principles of predictability. The speaker is fading in and out. The interpreter has great difficulty hearing the speaker. So this person has to have control over the system, and that at any point in time, appropriate responses are given. Technology has to be as usable as possible. Trust has to be in place, because for us, this is a critical aspect on using these technologies. These technologies helps us to manage both the negative and positive aspects. When we look at artificial intelligence, when we want to buy a product, the next time we want to buy another product on that same platform, artificial intelligence that is deployed by that site can throw us some options based on the previous choices we made on such a platform.
Sorry, interpreter, I need to just interrupt you. Kossi, nobody can hear what you're saying, please, and what you have to share is very important. Can we please encourage you to move closer to your microphone so we can hear what you have to say, please? Can anybody hear me? All right. It seems like we may. Okay. It seems like we may have lost Kossi, but Professor Beidi is here. So Professor Beidi, please stop moderating. Maybe move to another panelist until Kossi comes back. But please, panelists, please move as close as possible to your microphone, please. Thank you.
Bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour Joshua. Bonjour tout le monde. Excusez du retard. Donc pour aller très vite.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Joshua and everyone. Really, just to move very quickly, we're going to give the floor now to our second panelist, Joshua, and then Kossi will be back, and Dr. and myself. So, Mr. Joshua, please, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I was going to talk about the fourth revolution and then how emerging technology helps us as individuals, coming from the young people's perspective. My name is Joshua. So I believe that more like the technology to us is, well, I say is emerging, and we still have like current technologies which pretty much affects how we do things from day to day. And from the beginning of time, from the first revolution, we had water and steam, where the first revolution was dependent on water and steam. We had the second revolution, which was pretty much depending on electric power for mass production. Then we did have the third revolution, which pretty much depended on electricity and info technology for production. And we're also looking at the fourth revolution, which believes that is starting already, which actually will depend on digital revolution, which also sums together the act of where people have been afraid that in the fourth revolution, which pretty much we believe we're already in, people are going to lose a lot of jobs. There was a saying that says that close to 5 million people will lose their jobs, and people are scared that machines are taking over the world, and people are frightened that if nothing is done, the technology is going to take out the place of humans. And I pretty much feel and believe that we're asking the wrong question. By the wrong question, I mean, we shouldn't be asking that will technology take over the jobs of humans, because pretty much the other industries that pretty much technology might not be able to take over the roles, like the public healthcare. Technologies, machines won't be the one to find the cure for the COVID-19. It has to be human beings. We also have other different industries that technology will not really take over But pretty much what we should be asking ourselves is what's the future of work? What should work be? How should we be planning our lives to live with technology? How do we plan our lives that it suits very well with technology? Because if you see what's happening is, I believe technology is there to complement whatever we do, not to take over what we are to do. So for example, if you're a healthcare worker, technology is there for you to search for stuff and get stuff done faster. You can send emails. This event is happening online. We didn't need to spend money for transportation and accommodation to get this event happening. We are just having this event online. So technology is there to complement. It doesn't also mean that in the meeting is machines that are speaking to us. It also means that there are human beings who are necessarily speaking to us. So yeah, I believe that technology as a tool is there to complement what we do as in our everyday life as humans. Thanks so much.
Merci Joshua. Kossi, tu es prêt?
Thank you, Joshua. Kossi, are you ready to take the floor?
On t'entend pas?
We cannot hear you, Kossi. Can you hear me now?
Oui, allez-y.
Yes, indeed. Please go ahead. Right, I think that's really what we're talking about. That's technology, and this is indeed our experience, our hands-on experience of what technology is capable of. So I was saying that artificial intelligence is one of the emerging aspects of technology that I wish to emphasize, and this technology contributes to developing the development, the sustainable development objectives, such as those related to education, agriculture, poverty reduction, etc. So this technology also impacts on both positively and negatively on certain environments related to inequality. So when you talk about freedom of access, availability, access for all, freedom of meetings, etc. This technology should be implemented, taking on board certain types of regulation, and regulation should be designed in such a way that states, private sector, all involved in a multi-stakeholder manner around the same table to discuss the viability of this technology and its added value to people. As I said earlier, technology doesn't change things, rather it improves the quality of our life. There is also the United Nations high-level panel which recommended that artificial intelligence initiatives should take on board three fundamental principles. The first fundamental principle is it should be visible. In other words, the user should have a full control because he will be the user, and then it should be explainable. The operator should be able to explain the reason behind this technology and reliability. This technology should be available without having to lose control, and that should improve trust. Trust is a major issue and one of the only ways to encourage people to adopt this technology. Ladies and gentlemen, it's important to bear in mind that standards and principles should be implemented while we remember that technology moves faster than our legislation, it moves faster than our regulations. We need to act in such a way that we do not become obsolete. We need to act in such a way that this technology, we bear in mind that there are always threats in our lives. including our lives online. For example, we have adaptive malware with artificial intelligence. We have malware that targets critical infrastructure in several countries, and that is why more than ever now, artificial intelligence has become important. We have people who use the weaknesses and the vulnerabilities of existing systems to attack the infrastructure. Within the ECOWAS region, we must work to ensure that we fight against this. In the previous panel, it was indicated that certain applications, particularly in Senegal, allowed for traceability of persons who may have potentially been infected by COVID-19. It is true, that is a good thing. However, legally, if you were to follow legal provisions, having this type of technology presupposes that you have parliamentary agreement, you have parliamentary legislation that says, yes, we agree to give you access to this data to properly set the use of this data, because we do not know what can be done with the data of individuals post-pandemic. It could very well be used for monitoring populations. So it's important to keep that in mind, because this is massive private data. You're collecting private personal data that could be used for any other purpose after COVID. Beyond this industry, we have to also think about 5G. We don't have 5G yet in our environment. When 5G does come in, we will understand that most of our jobs that we thought we had will now be threatened. For example, secretaries, drivers, certain jobs will now have to fight for their place in the job market, and we have to prepare our environment, our markets for these. We need to teach people to add value to what they have and begin now to endow themselves with another type of work. For example, everything that has to do with uh, translation, surgery needs to be also converted. Also, we need to prepare ourselves for the right to internet access. If, as a part of our constitution, we recognize that the internet is a fundamental human right, and every individual is allowed access in a quality manner, then we can begin to enforce. But the responsibility of those who implement the applications should not also be overlooked. There should be responsibility. In my view, the emergency is for us to work to ensure that our governments put in place artificial intelligence strategies, and that these strategies are conducted in a multi-stakeholder process, and that the limitations that we now experience with technology are taken on board to avoid that these negatively impact on the lives of people as we see it today. We need to ensure that laws, regulation, are properly sensitized, disseminated, and persons are aware of the existence of these laws, and that users are obliged to adopt it because technology has now come upon us. This is something that I really want to emphasize.
Merci, merci Kossi,
Thank you, Kossi, Dr. Kossi.
Donc,
Thank you.
mesdames, messieurs, rebonjour.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, good afternoon. I do apologize for coming in a bit late. You know, we're talking about technology, we're promoting technology, but in spite of that, in spite of 4G, most of our countries remain disconnected. You will see before me, I am at behind me, I mean to say, I'm at the National Assembly building in Niger, and they have given me facilities to use their video conference facilities facilities. Unfortunately, it's not great, the connectivity, but um, it's time for prayers. Most persons have gone to pray, but I'm still here. So let me introduce myself. I'm Professor Beidi. I have the honor of being invited. Wajif gives me this opportunity to moderate this panel. This panel discusses very important subjects: artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, topics that our academics like to speak to, emerging topics. So I had just given the floor to the two speakers, the two panelists, and I will now be asking them a number of questions. Let me quickly refocus our discussions. As you know, with regards to emerging technologies, the term emerging, well, it's becoming more visible now. We're starting to see it more. In reality, these are technologies that have existed for a while. These are technologies that derive from scientific research, from research in intelligence, in artificial intelligence, in applied mathematics, in research and development. And, those are the firms that end up with the artificial intelligence that we now see made available to us, and that those that work with big data are well aware of. And I'm very well placed to discuss this because I studied aviation, and I also did Météo France. What a lot of people do not know is that to work with data, you first need raw data. What's the raw data? These are recordings or data that you collect over a number of years. For instance, if you take weather, for instance, weather is quite universal. Why is it that European countries are able to be so accurate with their forecasts? It's because for over 1,000 years, at least 3 times a day in their countries, they are making data available. They're churning out this data. So what do they have? They have big data that allows them to come up with real information. And this is not past obsolete information. We do not have data, unfortunately, in Africa for a lot of things. For instance, if I look at aeronautic data, which I'm very aware of, I have two colleagues, Nigerian colleagues. Ever since big data came on board, it's made their lives easier, because what happens in aviation, you have so much so much data. Sometimes you're unable to collate accurately because of a lack of data. But ever since the advent of big data, our lives have been made so much easier. So just to summarize my point of view before I give the floor to my colleagues, I'd say that you should not forget, if we do not conduct scientific research in applied mathematics and physics, electronics, in sociology and artificial intelligence, we will never arrive at a point where we ourselves are inventing new technology, or we are building on emerging technology. What will always happen is that we will always use existing emerging, in quotes, technology to solve our problems, to solve our irrigation problems in Niger, for instance, or our transportation problems. Africa has these problems, and Africa needs to learn from what the Francophone African countries had done in the past, which is to create regional research centers, regional centers for excellence in engineering in the various fields. Right, so that's what I have to say. And now I'm going to put my cap as moderator back on. So Joshua and Dr. Kossi, I will be giving you a list of questions which you will be answering, and we will save some time on that. Oh, you're here. I was seeing you on video, but nobody else was. Okay, so we will be asking you again, to Joshua and to Dr. Kossi, tell us how emerging technology can help the developing economies in Africa. And how is artificial intelligence and robotics and the Internet of Things from a point of view of legal matters? How do we work in terms of regulations to benefit from these, considering that you are promoting the fourth revolution? Thank you. Please respond.
Sorry, Kossi, just before you start, just to let you know that Dawit Bekele from ISOC has also joined the panel now.
Yes, oui, Docteur, bienvenue. Je voulais d'abord.
Doctor, you're very welcome. I had given the floor to the previous panelists to respond to the questions, and then you will continue. Mr. Joshua? Do you receive me here? I believe now that with the video, we can hear you fine now. We can
Yeah,
hear
I
you.
do, but I actually lost your question, Prof. I don't know if you can repeat that now. Also, the question you asked.
In the West Africa region, where when we talk about trade, one major area I'd like to emphasize is banking. There are a number of people who are they do not hold a bank account. They don't have any banking history. As you know, if you attempt to access credit at a bank, the first thing they check is to see if you are credit worthy. If you do not have any banking history, then you don't have a credit history. You cannot be given credit. However, with a banking history, we're able to determine your capacity to pay your water bills, electricity, your rent, etc. So this quality that makes you credible because you're able to pay your bills at the right time allows us, by collecting massive data and analyzing it, allows us artificial intelligence robots to get this information and make available to banks. And the robot now makes a recommendation to the banker and says, it's true, this person does not have any banking history, but he is profitable because he has history and he's paid up his credits, his bills, etc. So if we put in this type of mechanism, what does that mean? It tells us that robots at some point have taken the place of some other jobs, advisors, for instance, consultants, because they're able to consult and advise bankers on an individual's credit worthiness. And then we have translators. We currently have with us translators or interpreters, as we have now, but more and more with artificial intelligence, robots are taking over that. You see cases where a robot will translate for you from French into English, and you will be hearing as if it were a human doing the interpretation. And that presupposes that in our region we can work on the flexibility of this technology, artificial intelligence, which is at the heart of other emerging technologies, whether it is big data, whether it is the Internet of Things. They use artificial intelligence, and being at the forefront, it's important that we emphasize artificial intelligence in our region and for all countries to implement it. Those who do not have the technology should be encouraged to develop it urgently, because we will save time. We will catch up. We'll be able to catch up because our future seems to be running ahead of us. And so it's important for us to take advantage of measures being made available to us by the high-level panel, the UN high-level panel. This high-level panel has been now taken over by UNESCO and other research agencies to ensure that humanity is integrated in the use of these technologies. These technologies should be made available to us in line with standards and principles. There are at least 3 key principles that are unarguable. You cannot deny. And that is pre-visibility. Kossi. There's also explainability and reliability of information. So if we take all of this on board, then we will see what our people are faced with and whether or not they're able to access it. Currently, this is not available. You need to work to ensure that persons understand the advantages and disadvantages behind these technologies. I thank you. Thank you, Kossi. Joshua, please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, Prof, you can speak because I didn't get the question. Yeah, sorry.
Let me read the question in French. So how do we prepare the skill set of the fourth revolution for emerging technologies? We have admitted that emerging technologies will be a revolution. How do we build capacity to ensure that people have the skills?
So I think also this is one of the things that organizations around are doing. Starting from the private sectors, let me call Google and the rest. Google ISOC is doing some trainings currently. And you can see that some of these trainings are there to teach people how to use, let's say, simple networking tools. Google does this stuff called digital skills, where they teach people how to use some digital skills platforms they have. I feel it will be very awesome if in West Africa, together with ECOWAS and some other organizations, just like I feel Dr. Dawit is the best person to talk about that with the Afrinic and in the Afrinic and ISOC's collaboration. But I also feel that ECOWAS, together with other organizations, it would be awesome if they can come together to train young people in West Africa to have certain skills to be able to go into the fourth revolution very swiftly, because I believe that there are a lot of things that we as Africans overlook or don't take serious when it comes to technology, where you see people out there using 3D printing, doing virtual reality, doing stuff that's using drones for delivery and the rest, trying to automate their processes. We are quite better. We are trying to not feel okay with it, but we are trying to feel okay with the normal way of life, which we do, where we use mechanical ways to solve our problems. But it seems like what I believe also is one of the advantages of this is the first revolution will help make Africa sit up a little bit, because it's gonna see what we're not doing well. Because now if you travel abroad, you can see how there are drones doing delivery of food, and here where I live in Nigeria, you see that we're spending more money in getting more people to deliver food to our houses, which pretty much is a step forward than what it was before, because you have to work in store. But then the COVID-19 has helped make people know that technology can be used for better ways. So I feel we need more trainings, we need more collaborations. Collaborations is going to help if we want to train better. Collaborations between organizations, silo works doesn't help well. Meaning, if ECOWAS can work as an individual to get people do stuff, imagine the collaboration between ECOWAS and Internet Society, or ECOWAS Internet Society and Afrinic, or ECOWAS and some other organizations. It helps foster the process very fast, because then these different organizations have different reach. So it's easy to reach out to more people when there's collaboration. So the best way to get technology faster in our location is teaching people to understand what the new norms is going to be like and how to make the new norms better. So I feel for us to be able to have a better ecosystem of technology, what we need to work on is collaboration and faster learning, and also better learning conduciveness. Because if you go to universities and school and they're still teaching you how to use Fortran or some other languages that might not be useful to people, I don't know how you want them to be able to build awesome platforms that will make awesome recognition globally. So we need to also increase our education system to make sure that the lecturers, the teachers, the school owners and the school organizations are teaching what is going to be useful to students when they leave the school. So collaborations too can help that foster that. So good collaboration, good education, I feel will go a long way to making us come up faster. Thanks so much, moderator.
Merci, Joshua.
Thank you, Joshua. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure to introduce to you Dr. David Bekele, who, in spite of all his other responsibilities, was able to make out the time for us. And we do want to apologize. Between yesterday and today, we had a few glitches, but we're happy that he's now available. Dr. David Bekele is the Regional Vice President of the African Regional Society. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I will continue in French if I can, and then switch to English where necessary. Right, so it's a really significant issue because with regards to new technologies, you always have the winners and the losers. The winners are those who will sell the new technologies when these mature or await the maturity, and then there are those that will use the new technologies, and the losers will be those that will lose their job because of this. I think Kossi did mention that a lot of jobs will be lost because of new technologies, and that is true. New technologies have always displaced certain jobs, and I think in Africa we have too often been on the losing side, and that for several reasons. One of the reasons is that we are often not even aware of what is going on around us. So perhaps my comments may be a bit general in nature, but I will share with you, if I may, a screen. I'd like to share my screen. I hope I can do that. I hope, can you see this? So this is a very famous graph. It's called the Gartner Hype Cycle for Emerging Technologies. And this one's for 2019 for emerging technologies.
You see that increasingly we have emerging technologies that are increasing.
Augmented reality, la réalité augmentée, le web décentralisé, etc., etc. Bien sûr, beaucoup d'entre eux sont au niveau, sont au début, et peut-être il y en aura un grand nombre qui vont jamais.
Interpreter can no longer hear the speaker.
Mais c'est important pour tout un chacun de connaître ce qui se passe, parce que si on n'est pas au début, on a très peu de chances d'être à la fin. Et on sera à la traîne, et on sera...
Sorry to cut in, Dawit, but we can't hear you.
We have a lot of them on the market.
Sorry, it might be my bandwidth. Can you hear me now?
Yes, here. Yes, I can hear you. I don't know others.
Okay, I will cut my sharing and I will continue. Donc, je disais qu'il y a plein de technologies et il faut qu'on soit au début pour être à la fin et pour être parmi ceux qui vont bénéficier de ces technologies et non d'être à la traîne. Avant, on avait des raisons. C'est vrai qu'on ne connaissait pas ce qui se passait dans le monde, mais grâce à l'Internet, on n'a plus d'excuses. On peut suivre ce qui se passe, on peut être en avant et on peut... Oh, the English interpreters can't hear me. Est-ce que les francophones m'entendent?
Moi, ici, je vous entends. Je ne sais pas ailleurs.
Je sais pas.
Can the francophones hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Is it better? Is it? He can continue in French. The speaker can continue in French. There may have been an internet disruption.
I was saying we need to be among the ones who are at the top of the technology, so that we are the ones who are going to sell those technologies to others. And we no more have any excuse, because nowadays, thanks to the internet, we can follow what's happening around the world and be among the pioneers and not among the laggers. Another problem that I think that we see in Africa is that even in adopting technologies, we often adopt without really being ready for it. As a result, at any technology, it comes with advantages and drawbacks. And unfortunately, since we don't really adopt the technology knowingly, we often are obliged to suffer before we come up with mitigating solutions for the problems. I can cite here the problem of social media. Social media have very good things with it. It can bring people together, but at the same time, with disinformation, with hate speech, etc., we have, at least my country is suffering a lot. And unfortunately, we are not ready for that. And as a result, in fact, I didn't have internet for 15 days because we had many issues due to these problems. So what do we need to do? I think some of the previous panelists have said it. We need to prepare better. I will start with having a culture of innovation. As a society, we need to value those who come with new ideas. And then we should have the environment for innovation. I hear very often in Africa, very new, good ideas. And these good ideas sometimes are really innovative. But unfortunately, they don't go very far because there is no ecosystem to support those good ideas. For example, a startup in Africa has a very good chance that it remains a startup. While in the developed countries, and especially the US, in the Silicon Valley, when there is a good startup, it gets all the necessary support so that it becomes very important. So with regards to emerging technologies, we need to encourage research and development. In Africa, the budget for research and education and development is very, very limited. For example, if we take China, it has invested $150 billion just for artificial intelligence. And I think it's given that they are going to lead artificial intelligence, which is going to define our society for the coming maybe decades, if it's not more. And we are going to be buying their technology because we were not there. We didn't invest enough when it started. It's true, we don't have the national budget that they have, but as Africans, we can put our forces together so that I think one of the panelists said, I think maybe Professor Beidi, we can have centers of excellences in Africa, so that even if we cannot do it at national level, we can do it at African level. So I will stop here for now, and I'm happy to answer to questions if there are any.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for your input. Merci, Docteur. Je dois parler en français. Merci pour
Thank you. I'm going to speak in French. Thank you for that intervention. I will ask the two other speakers if they have something to add before I summarize the session and hand over to the moderator with the remaining time that we have. Joshua, Kossi, Dr. Bekele.
Donc, messieurs, dames, on va conclure là.
So let us draw the curtain at this point. We note that emerging technologies can be very useful for Africa. Africa has to invest more in research. They have to pool their resources together to create centers of excellence, and also encourage different governments to invest more in ITC and artificial intelligence, since these are key tools for development for Africa, and in particular West Africa. So on that note, ECOWAS, just as we're doing in YIGF, internet governance in West Africa was in the hands of the civil society, and ECOWAS positioned itself, and the result was better organization. Why don't we do the same thing with artificial intelligence? We have a university in Libreville on artificial intelligence, but no students. So unless we have regional centers for excellence, we won't be able to make much progress, and therefore the region will not record progress also in that area. I want to thank the technical team of ECOWAS and the other 2 or 3 persons who are the rapporteur who we don't see, Lillian and Joshua also, who is also working very hard on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Before the panelists go, we do have a couple of questions in the Q&A. So the first one says, please, what developmental policies can you advise governments to adopt towards AI? In the same breath, how do we advise governments to move towards achieving a secure digital economic drive? Panelists?
Dr. Bekele, please, can you answer?
Yeah, well, I think the answer is the answer is very easy. We need to put all our resources. I do believe I was also a professor at a university previously, and we do have intelligent people in Africa. The only thing is that they don't have the resources available. And we often say, well, that's luxury. It's not. That's our future. And we need to invest on our future, even if we have to take it from some of our needs today. That's how countries develop. It's by putting the resources for what will make their future better. So about security, again here, I don't think that we invest enough on security. We often believe that this is not our problem, and until it becomes our problem, until we have a big issue that comes and really creates a problem. So let's be proactive. Let's not wait until some big thing happen. And as a result, if we do that, I am sure we can have a secure environment. By the way, we were talking about putting our resources together, and we have done that, at least in the security area. I don't know how many of you are aware, but the African Union Commission has created a Pan-African expert group on security. It's a beginning, I agree, but at least it is an advisory group to the African Union, and I hope they will do better. They will have, for example, excellence centers, etc., on security. And if we do that, I am sure it is not an impossible task. But time is running. We have to really go fast so that the problems don't become unmanageable. Thank you.
Merci, docteur. Donc, Folake, si vous m'entendez, on va...
Thank you. So, Folake, if you can hear me, we'll give you back the floor. In the meantime, we thank all the panelists and the technical support. Dr. Kofi, Dr. Bekele, thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a very productive session, but there are still questions in the Q&A and in the chat room. So can I please get the panelists to spare us a few more minutes to please look through the questions in the Q&A and in the chat room and take some time out to please answer those questions for us. Thank you very much. We